Welcome to Creator Upload, your creator economy podcast. I'm Lauren Schnipper.
And I'm Joshua Cohen. Lauren.
Yes.
How you doing?
Fine, and you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Great.
I was thinking about how parents of the future are going to have it just so much easier.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about in the context of Jetsons like robotic helpers around the house.
Oh, Jetsons robotic help. Great. Do people know what the Jetsons are? That was so great. Go on.
I'm not talking about it like that.
Uh-huh.
I'm talking about it in the context of you're going to be able to take your children's favorite pieces of intellectual property and have AI generate whatever you want them to do. So imagine like Bluey teaching your kids, who it will call by name, to brush their teeth or eat their vegetables or anything else.
My kid does love Bluey. My kid loves
exactly
Bluey.
Right.
But like, I also just feel like, do you know who Tim Simons is? Do you know who Tim Simons is?
No, who's Tim Simons? Tell me all about him.
Tim Simons. So annoying. He played Jonah on Veep. He plays the brother, but he wants this really funny, big, awkward, like comedy, comedian, whatever.
Yes. No, yeah. Tim Simons.
Yes. Okay. And so anyway, he came in when I was at Facebook. We were doing early days of video, and we had this we recreated like a fake version of the Watch What Happens Live set and like the studio space in LA, and we were like getting celebrities to come and like do videos. And it was such early days in video on Facebook. So like nobody knew what to do. So we just did like 5 questions or whatever. And I will never forget this. Tim Simons, who I kind of knew vaguely, and he's a great guy. We asked him like, what is your favorite kind of music? And he basically was like, I hate music now because I hate the fact that like you can get your hands on any piece of music at any time. He's like, this whole diatribe about it makes it so incredibly uninteresting. And it's like, it's so easy to get that it's hard to find. He's like, so I've gotten really into bluegrass because like nobody cares about bluegrass and like you can't really find it. So it's like the hunt of it and like figuring it out and learning about it is really interesting. So I've thought about that oddly like a lot. That like just his diatribe on that. And I think so to your point, when you have your hands, you can get anything. It's like, I don't know. I think it might kind of suck.
So that's a fun premise for a Portlandia sketch, but here in the real world, this is going to be amazing. Everybody loves having access to everything possible at any given moment. And the scales definitely tip in the balance. The scales definitely tip in the balance of having access to these things and being exposed to it versus serendipitous discovery that we all miss. I totally get it. I miss that too. I understand. In terms of parenting, you're not going to opt to go on the app and choose Wolverine or Captain Tsubasa or whoever to tell your kids the importance of eating leafy greens.
I mean, we do that already with like shows like Daniel Tiger, like you gotta try new things because it might taste good. So yeah.
But imagine that on steroids.
I know, and I don't love it. You asked me a question. You asked me a question, and I answered it. Okay. Anyway, is something already being created that allows this? Is this why you bring this up?
I was just thinking more about Roblox integrating different types of IP into its platform. YouTube Shorts has come out with a variety of new AI effects. You can upload photos of yourself that VO3 is now going to animate into different situations. I tried this out at Cannes because they had a booth set up at the Google Beach in the YouTube space where I uploaded a photo of myself, and then all of a sudden 3 seconds later I was playing with a bunch of puppies or a bunch of tennis balls were falling from the sky, kind of whatever I wanted to do. And so you just take this to its logical extreme. We're both parents. We're thinking about the best ways we can parent. Sure. Mine obviously is with screens.
I am.
Serendipitous interaction that kind of like never happens, but like maybe once a month, and then that outweighs everything else. And I think this is just going to be the future.
Great.
And this is just like where things are going with the IP of these companies. They're going to want to exploit it as much as possible in the future. If parents in 10, 15 years can buy packs for $20, $50, $100 a month even to get these creators that their kids love to help them parent their children, I mean, come on. It's going to be a game changer.
I hear you. Okay, and before we get to some big stories, we are going to have Rachel Stockman on, who's the president of Law and Crime, which is the #1 trial channel on YouTube. And she's going to talk about some really interesting learnings from the Diddy trial, besides just the Diddy trial in and of itself, which I think we all learned a lot about the world.
Probably too much. Probably way too
A
much.
little too much about baby oil and its use cases. But before we get to that, let's get to some big stories. First up is I want to talk YouTube earnings. YouTube ad revenue nears $10 billion in the last quarter. Josh, why don't you take us through the numbers?
Lauren, another quarter for YouTube that just keeps going up and in the right direction. So like you said, YouTube brought in $9.8 billion in advertising revenue in the quarter. That's up around 10% from Q1 of $8.9 billion, but up 13% year over year last year. Sundar Pichai shouted out YouTube Shorts, which now generates 200 billion daily views, as one of the proponents of that increase, and also teased a little bit of what's in store for YouTube in the future, including the Chargers versus Chiefs NFL game, for which YouTube won the exclusive streaming rights for. This is really interesting. We talked about it before, but they're going to stream the NFL game from Brazil for free on YouTube, basically as an advertisement for 1, the NFL, 2, YouTube, 3, NFL Sunday Ticket, and then 4, all the different types of brands that they're probably going to incorporate into this broadcast that I'm guessing are really going to want to be part of it because of the global reach and scale. I think this will be the most viewed NFL game potentially ever, maybe even more than the Super Bowl. I know that's saying a lot, but if you think about the global reach of YouTube and the internet penetration of the world, it definitely could be, which would be crazy, which my guess is what they're going for. At least the most viewed outside of the Super Bowl, but maybe they could get into Super Bowl status. So Sundar, obviously excited about that too. He mentioned it in the earnings call. And the Alphabet CEO also talked about how AI is working for the company. They're going to increase capital expenditures this year up to $85 billion. Last year, in 2024, it was more like $52 billion they spent on capital expenditures. So a huge increase on spending to stay on top of the AI world. And you've seen that, like we talked about at the top, manifest itself on YouTube, going to continue to do that. Like, again, this is no surprise. This is the front page of No Doubt Magazine. YouTube's earnings keep going up, but it's cool to put some numbers behind it.
Yeah, I love it. All right, I want to talk about something that might just seem like a little bit of a download, but I think it's actually a larger story, which is that Prime, of course, the beverage that came out with Logan Paul and KSI, is down 42% year over year sales. What I think this speaks to, obviously, this is a huge creator brand by these huge creators, and it had so much heat and, for lack of a better word, virality. And I think that especially I can speak about like Logan Paul sort of and the Paul brothers in general sort of made a career around virality, right? It was always like shocking, viral. And the truth of the matter is like to have and build a sustainable brand. I think the lesson here is you can't rely on virality. There was an article a few weeks ago talking about this decline and how like all these kids bought it and then they just kind of never did again and they kind of grew up and got over it. And in order, to me, this is sort of like the Cokes of the world looking over being like, yeah, how do you like us now? Like it ain't easy, buddy, to be here for 100 years. You know what I mean? And so I just think this is really interesting. And I think that it speaks to, listen, building a brand as a creator is a great idea, but it's not for the faint of heart. You can't, there's an amazing amount of momentum that you can get. And then I think that like you have to have like real marketing professionals that come and help you have sustainable campaigns and reach new customers. Like this is all in very sticky ways. And right now, they're clearly not doing this. And I mean, obviously there's value here, but they've had a lot of controversy. They've always also have controversy with like the FDA and the ingredients and all that kind of jazz. And if they were marketing to kids and it shouldn't be and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know. I think it's just a really interesting kind of tell around brands and the industry that everybody was super hot on. I mean, Beast basically, listen, his burger, and by the way, and also it speaks to food and beverage. Food and beverage is a very, very difficult category because you're dealing with sustainability, ingredients, health, all these kind of things. And Beast, with Beast Burger, like I think he's still embroiled in the lawsuit with the people that he was partnering with that because the quality was garbage after a while. And now with Feastables, it would seem that he's built a much sort of kind of much more sustainable and real business with like, that's doesn't feel like as viral, for lack of a better word again. So I just think it's very interesting and it speaks to just like, we're still early in this industry, and there's going to be a lot of sort of stops and starts and sort of companies that come and go, and and we'll see what happens. What do you think about this, Josh?
So, Lauren, this is all citing a Circana Foods report that Darren Rovell, who's a business journalist, quoted on X, formerly Twitter. There's also been some other outlets that have claimed that sales are down as much as 90%. And I've just some firsthand experience with this. My kids, maybe 1 summer, 2 summers ago, definitely were always asking for Prime. And either they've aged out of it, or the trickle down effect of the kids in middle school liking it because the kids in high school wanted it is no longer there because the kids in high school don't necessarily want it anymore.
But I just think that just we double click on that for a minute, because it's like, my kid, Gatorade you don't age really out of Gatorade. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that, like, think about other brands. Like, it's not, that's why I think this is like, you have to go beyond this, like, one viral moment, right? Like, it's like people drink Gatorade their entire lives. I don't know. So it's sort of, that doesn't even make sense, age out of it. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. You know what I mean?
And so if we're looking back at it and trying to plot their trajectory from a couple years ago, what would you do if you were in charge of the brand? Would you meter this out more? Would you not have it be as viral early on? What would you do?
No. I think I'm not saying it shouldn't be viral early on, but I think you need. I think people in general get marketing so wrong, and this is an example of that. I think a lot of times people use it too early or never use it at all because they feel like they don't need it. And it feels like that's what this is. We're in column 2 here, right? Because they felt like they've got these big stars, it's free marketing. And I'm sure there were professional marketers there, but like they were really kind of just like, grasping onto this one thing and not thinking about the long tail and the new customers and that sort of stuff. So it's like what they should have done, if they were in a great position because they had product market fit, they had a big moment. Like the best time to, like, I've seen so many startups kind of make this mistake. And from, my sort of outsider point of view, the time to spend money on market is not from 0 to like, 10. It's to get from 10 to scale, right? And so they're a little bit in between because it kind of came from scale. So they needed to get scale back down to sort of the base customer and the loyal customers. And they needed to really spend time with people, getting to know who their customers are and really expanding upon that. And so I just think this is a move where they didn't think about kind of the brand awareness and the affinity. It was just more about like taking advantage of the viral moments. And so that's what I would have done differently, is done the different types of campaigns and gone into the communities and get people to really like latch onto it. I mean, I've been to the Coca-Cola Museum in Atlanta, and you go in there and I know you've been there too, and you watch the video that you watch when you first walk in. I mean, you're crying. I've seen it 3 times. I've taken my kids. It's like you're crying because it's like all about like these moments that Coke is there with you. And I was like, totally. I don't even drink Coca-Cola, and I like love it. And I try, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, and that's just not, I mean, they didn't do any of that.
Yeah, it's also the benefit of being more than century years old brand.
Obviously, like, but you know what I mean? Like, but there's a lot of beverages out there. You know what I mean? I mean, LaCroix. I mean, I should have stock in that company. You know what I mean?
And
LaCroix? Nobody knows.
Obviously, the people that were behind this thought that they could reach some form of exit velocity. Like if they push hard enough, fast enough, early on enough, they can get out into the stratosphere, and then they'd just be an established brand that would be a staple. But if these numbers are accurate, it looks like it's proving that can't necessarily be the case.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we see it all the time. It's like, I was thinking about Clubhouse this morning. Sometimes I think about Clubhouse.
I was thinking about Clubhouse. It might be one of those weeks. It might be one of those nostalgic Clubhouse weeks. Yeah.
I just like feel badly for Clubhouse. Like, what were they going to do? I mean, everybody wanted Clubhouse, and then everybody like got out of their houses and they're like, we don't want no Clubhouse no more. You know what I mean? So it's like, I just feel bad for Clubhouse. I don't really feel bad for the Prime guys, but I feel kind of bad for Clubhouse. But it happens,
2 other things that this brings to mind. Brendan Gann, who's been a friend of the podcast for a while, has this great quote that wasn't his, but he references a lot. And it is, "Nothing kills bad brands faster than great marketing." And I'm not saying Prime was a bad brand.
Nothing kills bad brands faster than great marketing.
Yeah.
Okay. Go on.
So the marketing is fantastic. People are going to know your product's not great way sooner.
I don't know if this applies, but go on.
So I'm not saying Prime was a not great product, but if it did have room for improvement or needed to be improved upon, the great marketing that KSI and Logan Paul had to get it into all of these retailers and get it sold out of all these retailers for multiple weeks on end was maybe in the end not a great benefit for them. You can contrast that to Mr. Beast, who launched Feastables to some great fanfare, wasn't necessarily happy with the product, wasn't happy with consumer response to the product and how it tasted, went back, reformulated the whole formula, came out with new packaging, new recipe, new fanfare, and more. And now it seems to be doing really great.
I think something to know about that is that it's well documented that he's very passionate about this chocolate. And I don't know how passionate Logan Paul and KSI are about energy drinks, like as much as they are about the fact that they could sell an energy drink. Does that make sense? Like I think Beast, because he's got all his like stomach issues and this and that, and he made it so he could eat this and that sort of stuff, and it was really, really important to him. And so I feel like that sort of speaks to like, this is something that he really cares about and wants to build and make great. So I see the point. All right, I want to get to Rachel Stockman now, who is the president of Law and Crime, the #1 trial channel on YouTube. She's going to talk about one of the biggest trials they covered recently and the learnings there. We're so excited to have Rachel Stockman, who is the president of Law and Crime, which is the #1 trial-focused channel on YouTube. She's here to talk about a recent trial that they covered and some learnings that they had. Rachel, welcome to Creator Upload.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here. I am a big fan of your podcast, so I'm thrilled to be on to talk about this. Yes. So we are the #1 true crime YouTube channel. And one of the big cases we just covered was the P. Diddy case. And we've been really closely covering this for about a year and a half now. So we really saw an increased viewership as we were getting closer to the trial. And then we were covering it live for 36 days straight while this trial was happening. And what was really interesting, Lauren, about this is that cameras were not allowed in federal court, as you probably know. So what we saw a lot of times was those sketches that were coming from court. So we had our talent here in New York City and also some of our reporters going to the courthouse, updating our YouTube audience live as it was happening minute by minute. And we every day got real courtroom transcripts. We brought those in and created AI videos recreating what the jurors were really seeing in court. So it was a very interesting experience for us. We saw huge viewership over the course of the entire case, 235 million views.
Wow.
So yes, this was significant. And I think what differentiated our coverage from a lot of the other creators out there was that we have real journalists. We have real lawyers that have covered hundreds and hundreds of these cases. And so not only were we giving them accurate information, up to the date information, we were tailoring our coverage specifically for YouTube, unlike any other media outlet out there. Our audience was YouTube, and we were employing a YouTube first strategy.
That's so cool. And so was it the first time you'd really gone so deep in AI video? I'm curious about that and what if you can share like what programs you guys use, like, because that's obviously something that people are thinking a lot about.
Yes. So we had been kind of toying and practicing and experimenting with it for the last year or so. And when Donald Trump, right before he got elected, you'll recall there was a trial in New York City where he was on trial and cameras actually weren't allowed for that. During that case, we started experimenting with using the real transcripts and using different models. We actually used 5 different models to create the videos that you see on our YouTube. So we didn't use one program we used like 11 labs for dubbing some of the voices, and we used a bunch of different AI generation tools.
That's so cool. And in terms of just engagement, are you finding that like, what's the relative engagement from the AI videos versus like the live commentators that you're seeing on your channel?
So here's the thing about it. We were I'll be completely honest, we were a bit nervous to roll this out because we have quite a bit of credibility in the true crime and legal community, and we didn't want to do anything where people felt like, oh, this is fake news. So we were very careful to disclose exactly what we were doing when using the AI generation and make it explicit that we're using real courtroom transcripts to create it. And overwhelmingly, our audience loved it. They said this is exactly the reason why AI was invented. Back in the day, you had courtroom sketches, you had graphics. Now we have AI generation. It's just another tool in our toolbox to tell these stories.
And you mentioned like you guys have a YouTube first audience and you're really catering to that. What does that mean?
That means everything we do on a daily basis, we're creating content for our YouTube audience first and foremost. We then take a bit of a 360 approach like other digital creators. We can create shows based on what we create for YouTube. We have 2 fast channels that we distribute it on. We have a very robust production unit where we use a lot of the IP that we get from covering these cases and covering these big true crime cases. For example, we covered Brian Kohberger's sentencing yesterday and saw huge viewership on that.
He's the guy who murdered in cold blood these Idaho college students. Yeah.
Very sad case. And so we covered that. Our journalists were there, reporters were there in Idaho covering the sentencing. And then we're now creating a documentary about it and distributing it beyond YouTube. But it all starts with YouTube.
Got it.
First.
Got it.
Rachel, this is all super fascinating. Thank you so much for being here and talking about it. Just double tapping on what Lauren said. When you're creating for this YouTube first audience, what do they enjoy the most? What does that mean? Like, what are the things when you're talking about the production of the shows that you're doing or the angles you're getting or the topics you are having the reporters focus on? Like, what does that mean? Is there a consistent theme around those?
In terms of how we produce differently, say, for YouTube versus other platforms, I mean, I think in general, one thing that we've really realized when a big case is trending or people are talking about it, being first to cover it, but we're also we're not just covering the 2 minutes, hey, this happened. We're doing in-depth videos that are over 20 minutes that are really breaking down the cases, breaking down the details with legal experts or people really close to the case. And that's what our YouTube audience wants, which is different than, say, TikTok, Instagram, wherever else you may be reporting these cases on social. I like to say our YouTube audience is pretty smart because they stick around. They want to hear the details. They want to hear the information. They want to hear the analysis, and they really want it to be in depth. And I think that's really the differentiator between how we approach covering a YouTube first case versus, hey, a quick 30-second TikTok video or whatnot.
I think it's like, I mean, I think it's, I don't know. It makes me feel like good that people want to like stick around and like everybody talks about the low attention spans, and actually when people are interested, they can actually spend time on good content, which you guys, of course, are creating. And so, and just to close it out, this is so fascinating. Obviously, what should people look out for next? Is there any trials coming up? Or you guys, I mean, you guys have to move quickly. I mean, I guess you kind of know when trial dates are set and you know when you're going to cover certain things, but what should people look out for next with Law and Crime?
So we have a team that is constantly updating a trial calendar. And so this calendar has hundreds and hundreds of cases on it, criminal cases all across the country. And so every week we're analyzing, okay, which case do we want to send cameras in? Which case do we want to send crews in? And we're sending crews there. I think a big one coming up that we're definitely going to be covering is the Tupac case. The guy that allegedly murdered Tupac is going to trial coming up in early 2026. And sadly, obviously, there's always cases that are going on that happen that we don't even know about that, of course, we'll be covering and bringing, the most up-to-date information on.
And then one last question, just from a strategy perspective, are there any times, obviously you mentioned just a huge trial calendar, you're just sort of, you have, I'm sure, limited resources, so you're trying to figure out where to send crews and this and that. Is there ever a time where you're kind of starting to cover a trial and people aren't that into it, so you pivot in the middle of like a trial? Does that happen sometimes?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just aren't as interested in the content as we thought they would be. We do try to follow through in the cases because a lot of times we get, victims' families and people that are really impacted by these cases that want our coverage and need our coverage. So we do feel like a commitment to them to continue to cover these cases. And we always keep that in mind as we approach. But yeah, sometimes when we're covering what we think will be a high profile celebrity case. One example, by the way, is the Gwyneth Paltrow case.
Oh my God.
I don't know if you remember that one from last year.
It was glorious.
It was crazy because we were all like, "Oh, will anyone care about a civil case involving, I know it's Gwyneth
Well,
Paltrow, but
just
like
to take a step back, Gwyneth Paltrow was
Yeah.
skiing in where was it, Utah, I think.
Yes, in
And
Deer
a
Valley,
man
yep.
effectively like kind of ran into her, but then ended up suing her for like I don't even know for hurting him and all this. And she was just like, I'm not going to be extorted. So she went to trial and she ultimately won. And her outfits every day, her expressions, her testimony, chef's kiss.
And that was why people tuned into the live
Yeah,
coverage because
yeah.
they literally just wanted to see her reaction
Yeah.
to everyone. And that was a case where we weren't sure, would people be interested in this case? And certainly there was an audience.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Everybody go check out Law and Crime, your #1 trial channel on YouTube. Great learnings, great lessons. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thanks, Lauren. Thanks for having me, Josh, too. I
Thanks,
appreciate
Rachel.
it. Big fan. Big fans over here.
That's all we have on. It's a big fan. Thank you, Rachel, for coming on. So fascinating. Loved that Gwyneth trial. I mean, I would take all of those fits. In the end, when she won, she went up to this poor man and just gave him a little tap and was like, I wish you well, and walked out in all of her glory. Oh, it was so gorgeous.
Great interview, great insight. It also got me thinking, Lauren, how cool would it be if, for instance, the AI representations of these individuals in the courtroom were some of your favorite characters from very well-known international IP?
Like Iron Man.
Another genius way
like
for
Batman on trial.
brands- Yes,
Yeah.
for brands to get their IP involved.
Yeah. Okay, great. Like put it out there. All right, I like it.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, I think we did it.
Lauren, I think that's it. I'll see you auditioning to become a law and crime in courtroom reporter, but just to see what the fits people are wearing.
I mean, just for the fits.
If not there, next week on Creator Upload. Today's show was produced by Lauren Schnipper, Joshua Cohen, that's me, and Adam Connor. It's edited by Adam Connor too. Original music is by London Bridge. You can check him out on Instagram at London Bridge Music. Make sure you subscribe to Creator Upload right here on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, as well Spotify, or wherever you're listening. While you're there, give us a rating and leave us a comment. If you want to talk, hit us up at info@creatorupload.com. If you like our show, recommend it to a friend. If you love it, just tell everyone. Thanks for listening to Creator Upload, and we will be back next week.